Hey, what is up guys? This is Larry with the Financial Lift, and today I want to give advice on ways to save money on groceries. And there's plenty of videos out there giving tips on how to save money on groceries, but I'm actually going to give the biggest tip towards the end of this video that can save literally the whole entire grocery bill. Actually, you know what? I'll tell you right now. It's to basically just not eat. Just don't eat, and you'll definitely save a lot of money on groceries. Okay, obviously I'm joking about that, but a lot of these tips I am going to share do have significant savings, and the reason I like them is that they require little to no effort. So the first tip I want to share is actually one I never really see out there, which is to email companies that you actually like their product and just ask them if they have any coupons available, or just kind of inquire about their product and just say, you know, I'm very interested in, you know, DiGiorno pizza, for example, and I really like your product, but I'm curious about this other, you know, the Supreme pizza. Usually I only eat the pepperoni about 5 times a day. No, obviously I'm joking about that. But, you know, if you at least show them that you are enjoying their product already, but you're curious about a different product, maybe it's their, you know, deep dish pizza that they offer or whatever, you know, then they'll be more inclined to say, hey, by the way, we're emailing you back. Let me send you a couple of coupons. Usually they can do it digitally through email. Sometimes they can, you know, send you something in the mail. But either way, you'll be very surprised how many companies out there are willing to respond to you and give you free coupons, or at least, you know, 50% off, buy one, get one free, whatever their product is. So that's definitely something to consider. Just email a company out there that you enjoy their product already and see what they can give you. Now, the next tip I want to share may be a little bit controversial, but I actually don't necessarily think so, which is anytime you buy groceries somewhere and they end up spoiling, you know, at an unusual rate, or they're just not the quality that you expected, you know, try to be as polite as possible, but go back to the store and see if they'll take it back. Typically, a lot of these grocery stores or even places like Walmart, you know, they have some kind of freshness guarantee. So if you bring in, you know, if you bought, for example, blackberries or blueberries, and you bring them home and within 2 days they actually start to seem like they're going bad and you don't want to eat them anymore, bring them back into the grocery store and just explain to them what happened, that you just recently bought it. Bring your receipt, obviously, and usually they'll either be willing to give you a full refund or you can just get a replacement. And the reason I mention this as a tip is because a lot of people are very hesitant to do it. They feel kind of guilty for asking for a replacement, but you know, most store workers, especially if you're polite, they don't necessarily mind replacing it. And to actually kind of go along with this, there's a lot of companies out there that have like some kind of, you know, satisfaction guarantee on their products. And it's actually a company trick that a lot of these companies, you know, do, which is that you're more likely to buy something and try out something if you see that it has some kind of satisfaction guarantee. Yet the company knows that 95, maybe even 99% of people, even if they're unsatisfied with the product, won't go through the effort to, you know, get that satisfaction guarantee and get their money back. But what I've actually found is it's actually relatively low effort. In some cases, it can kind of be a little bit difficult, especially because you have to mail them your original receipt, and you have to have, you know, a stamp and an envelope to mail it, obviously. But for the most part, you know, 30 cents for a stamp and an envelope, or maybe a little bit more, depending on when you're watching this video. But the point is that it's relatively low effort. You just put the receipt in, you contact the company, say, hey, I'm going to mail the original receipt. I have a picture of the product, and, you know, I wasn't necessarily satisfied by it. Obviously, don't lie or be unethical. But, you know, just an example, if you're buying a coffee creamer, a lot of those creamers have some kind of satisfaction guarantee. And the reason they do that is because most people are familiar with just one creamer, right? Vanilla is the best, or French vanilla is actually really truly the best one. And what ends up happening is to incentivize people to try new flavors, they have a satisfaction guarantee, so you can feel comfortable buying it. And, you know, take them up on the offer. Contact the company and say you're willing to send the receipt, and you'll be surprised that they actually send you a check. You know, usually it takes about 3 to 4 weeks later. But, you know, it's a nice surprise in the mail. You get a check in the mail for, you know, it may only be $5 on the creamer example. One time I did buy this weed, you know, this weed removal spray that I sprayed across, you know, my driveway. And it was guaranteed to last for a whole year, but it only ended up lasting a couple of months. So I actually contacted the company, sent in the original receipt, and that ended up, they refunded my money, which ended up being about $50 because there were these huge, you know, gallon jugs, and I think about a few of them. So it can actually end up being a huge amount of savings with relatively low effort. The next tip I would give is to eat less variety. And by no means am I a health channel. You know, this is a finance channel all about saving money. But I would probably say that eating less variety is probably not a good thing towards your diet. But in terms of saving money, eating less variety is actually a pretty good thing for savings, because you can track better how much you need as far as, you know, planning out for the week. For example, if I'm going to eat bananas, or apples is probably a better example. If I'm going to eat apples for lunch every day at work, then I know on Sunday I need to buy 5 apples for Monday through Friday if I'm, working a typical schedule. And so that's a lot easier to plan for and account for versus if I'm going to try to have, bananas, but I also kind of want oranges in there and I want apples. Well, it's a lot harder to account for because the bananas may be ripe at the beginning of the week, but I was planning on eating out that, the bananas at the end of the week. So now I have to mix up my schedule, but then that causes me to forget about the oranges I bought. And so then the oranges end up going to waste, or they all end up being ripe at the same time and they all end up spoiling at the same time. So that's definitely something to think about. And obviously this applies more to things like proteins. For example, if I'm buying things like chicken, steak, and I'm trying to eat shrimp as well, and those things tend to end up getting buried in the freezer when I'm trying to have a variety of different meats and proteins available for my diet. But if I'm just eating chicken, then I can pretty accurately predict how much I need for every week. And it's a lot easier to account for. Or, I can still store it in the freezer, but the whole point being is that I know what's in the freezer and it doesn't necessarily get buried beneath things. If I'm buying chicken and steak, the steak may get buried underneath, new chicken I bought for the week. And then I forget about the steak and then, it ends up going to waste, many months down the road, or you find it, during spring cleaning and realize, well, what is this steak that I bought, a year ago? And you kind of feel a little embarrassed, but, that happens every now and then. So to kind of go along with that point is to plan out your groceries, plan out what you're going to eat for the week. And this is something I do see in a lot of channels talking about planning out, but I just want to re-emphasize here because the whole point of planning out groceries is that you don't necessarily end up buying things, bringing it home and realizing, oh, I bought this chicken because I was going to make this special dish, but I actually don't have the sauce here available, but I'm going to go to the store next week, so I'll just keep the chicken in the fridge. But come next week, the chicken has already gone bad, so now you end up wasting those groceries. So that's definitely something to consider. Another thing as far as planning out meals that I like to do is basically any meal I have for dinner, I'm probably going to have for lunch as for leftovers the next day. And the reason I do this is because it ends up being pretty beneficial because you don't end up wasting food, you don't end up throwing it away. And that's actually one of the biggest ways that, most households waste food is by throwing it away. But something I don't necessarily see a lot of other channels talking about is to have some kind of shelf-stable food that you can eat in replacement for the leftovers for dinner that you were going to intend to bring to lunch. And what I mean by that is that if you end up eating everything for dinner, and then you realize, well, I was going to take that for lunch for leftovers. What ends up happening is, when you're at work at lunch, you end up going out to eat, or you end up, going to a vending machine and buying overpriced snacks. But it's really beneficial to have, granola bars is what I do, for example. Or you can buy, soups or, ramen is definitely a really good case to save money. And keep those at your desk or keep those at work or wherever it's convenient. So that way, if there's ever a time where you were planning on having leftovers for lunch, but you ended up eating everything for dinner, well, now you have an alternative and you don't have to necessarily rush to go buy something or go out to eat, because those are the times that it really ends up costing you money as far as groceries. And now the last tip I wanted to share, which I cannot advocate enough for, is using grocery pickup apps, in particular using Walmart grocery pickup. And the reason I suggest this is because for Walmart pickup, there's no fee at all associated with it. And it's a pretty convenient way to have a grocery list and not necessarily have to go into a store. For example, throughout the week, every now and then I'll realize I ran out of something. Let's just say, garlic powder, for example. I will add that immediately to the app, and it's very simple to use, very easy to, navigate. Add it to the app so that way when I go to purchase the next time, it's already on there. I don't necessarily have to make a separate grocery list, bring it to the store with me, end up forgetting that grocery list, and then trying to remember what I wrote on that list, because that used to happen to me. But now I can just do everything through the app. It won't be forgotten. And then on top of that, all I have to do is just click order, go to the store, which you're going to have to do anyways, and then just pick it up, and then, they usually bring it out to your car for you. They load it into your car, and right now there's kind of this contactless system, so you don't get out of your car. The employees handle it all and put it in your trunk for you, and then you take off and end up back home. So very convenient. It's completely free, and one of the reasons I think it's cheaper in terms of groceries is because you don't end up going into the grocery store, ending up buying things you don't necessarily need. So that's it for this video. If you found this video useful at all, please give it a thumbs up and comment down below any creative ideas you have on ways to save on groceries. I know some people out there get very creative on ways to save, a couple of pennies on groceries, but it's still, a lot of people enjoy it and that's their thing, and that's totally fine. And if you like personal finance, business, economics, or anything like that, hit that subscribe button. I hope to see you in the next one.